Let's talk about training philosophies and how to optimize them. Okay, first, our training philosophies are usually just the modem or medium of fitness that we express ourselves in. So, what was the first area of fitness where you found the most freedom in? It could be a sport, playing basketball, pick up baseball, golf with friends, or lifting weights. Um, Not any particular discipline, but the best way you can express your body and the way that you can get fitness out the most easiest. It will be what I would classify as a training philosophy. Now, for me, when I first fell into my training discipline, it was mostly weightlifting, mostly because my uncle, who lived right across the street from us, would come home after work every day and just lift, dedicated lifter, and he looked just like the wrestlers that we saw on television, and that was a look that I wanted to have, and I would always watch him lift weights all the time as a kid. So, when I may be aging myself, whenever we went to the grocery stores, there would always be the magazine sections, right? And it would have like the magazine for the cars or the tricked out cars, the lowriders, and you could see that magazine. Then you will have the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazines where you can go through and see them reporting on all these stories about pro wrestling all over the world, whether that's during the time WCW and ECW and then WWF at the time. Now it's WWE. Then you had All Japan and New Japan Wrestling and all those things covered in those magazines. And then you had the bodybuilding magazine, you had the Flex magazine, you had the Muscular Development magazine, and all those magazines. And I would look through each of those magazines and just mostly looking at the body of the guys on it and wondering how they achieved those. And I would read through, not read the whole magazine, but just check on the articles of the training and just look at these different guys at the time. A lot of those top bodybuilders back then were mostly Flex Wheeler and Craig Titus and guys like that. And when it came to the professional wrestling, the guys weren't as cut up as the guys on those magazines, but they had the same bulk. And my uncle had that same look to him. And when I started training, when I was old enough to start training, I started around, I've always sneak and lift weights when I was like, ever since like 7 to 10 years old. Then around 13, 14 was when I actually started lifting with my uncle to achieve that look. So my discipline was just mostly weightlifting or powerlifting, just moving the weights from point A to point B. And that was basically my entry or gateway into lifting weights and falling into that discipline. I didn't know it at the time. It was something that will evolve into what powerlifting or doing powerlifting, not in a official standpoint, but unofficial standpoint. But basically, it was just a raw way of lifting. We had to, if you wanted to do squats, you had to snatch the weight off the ground and put over your head and put it on the back of your shoulders and set up for a squat. And we had the bench press. We did the bench press on the bench press, but everything was mostly barbell and free weights, dumbbells. And the dumbbells, I couldn't start working out with my uncle until I was able to lift a 50-pound and up dumbbell because there was no lighter weight to lift. So, yeah, that was our entry into it. So by default, you found your way into powerlifting. And my brothers trained with my uncle before me. I'm the youngest, and so that was our entry into it. It was mostly weightlifting. And you wanted to lift weights, and you didn't really know a set discipline about how to achieve a certain look that the guys had in bodybuilding. So my fitness discipline was powerlifting and moving weights from point A to point B. So some people just say that's just weightlifting, not powerlifting. So we'll go with weightlifting, powerlifting, whatever. So as time goes on, it becomes, middle school and high school, you're on the sports teams, and now we're incorporating more Olympic lifts. So it's like the snatch, hang cleans, things such as that, push, jerk, squats, some leg press, Viking presses, things such as that we will utilize from time to time when we were training in football, along with the bench press and squats and other, conventional movements. There was no deadlift though. I don't know if the guys are practicing that now with their schools, but when I was going and we didn't practice deadlifts much. It was mostly just the snatch and hang cleans motion. And so I'm covering all this to say that there was no biomechanics or kinesiology in our studies when we were doing this. It was mostly just watch this person do this movement and you imitate that movement. And that was basically just the motion. So I'll classify it as weightlifting instead of Olympic weightlifting, and powerlifting is what we'll call it, by scientific terms. But doing in this motion, it was mostly just moving the weight from point A to point B. And this could lead to a lot of injuries if you don't educate yourself. So the purpose of this video is just mostly to talk about our training philosophies and are we taking the necessary precautions to educate ourselves along the way. It's not about being another one of these people that you meet in the gym, or these people who say, well, I used to bench press 500 pounds or squat this much, and now they don't because they injured their shoulder doing so. Don't become that person. Educate yourself on your body and how it works. Educate yourself on your biomechanics, the proper setup. Make sure that you're retracting your scapula and pressing down, with the shoulders and bracing yourself when you lift your weights, and not just going off gripping and ripping. All these exercises, you want to do them as long as possible, as humanly possible as you can. And you may want to go heavy, but you're not trying to go heavy to break a world record. You're moving heavy so that you can just be able to continue to push yourself and will yourself to do heavier weight. And your training philosophy will and should change over time, because you change over time. You shouldn't be the same person that you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or even 1 year ago, or even 6 months ago, if we're being real about it. So why would you do the same with your training? There are so many disciplines that we have now, so many reports out, so many scientific evidence out that we can take and build upon our training philosophies to progress ourselves to do more. Before, when you first start getting into the discipline of lifting weights or whatever discipline you find yourself in first, yeah, it's going to be about the deadlift and the squat and the bench press. And you see so many people fall into the mindset of looking down and cracking jokes about other people's disciplines, whether they jog or run or CrossFit or bodybuilding or strongman or whatever their discipline may be. But I will say that it's very important to test those different disciplines and take part in them and see how you can fare in those things, and take part in these so that you can learn from these disciplines and incorporate into your own. It's just a training cycle, a training cycle and training discipline of you stretching yourself to be the best that you can be. Because that's all what it is. You're not competing against this other lifter and their lifts. You're not competing with this other person and their maxes. It's you competing against who you were yesterday. Each and every day, it's you competing against yourself whenever you train. You're training yourself to run the race that you're running. You're the only unique force that there is, and you are competing against you. It's no one else's journey. It's nobody else's race but your own. And I stressed trying different disciplines because you don't want the gateway for you to enter into those other disciplines is through injury mostly of the time, where you're going to have to stop lifting heavy because you injured yourself, and now you got to go through the rehabbing process of learning different exercises to empower those joints and those tendons, ligaments that are near those bones to basically strengthen yourself up so you can be able to function as you used to. When I broke my arm, it was a long rehab process of just being able to just use my triceps and my biceps and grip strength and being able to hold things just for longer than a second because it was so weak, and I had nerve damage as well. So you don't want that entry into other disciplines and other forms of rehab that are taken from other disciplines to be your entryway into it. You want to introduce yourself to other training. So if you're strictly lifting weights, go out and do jogging. Go out and do some calisthenics or plyometric training or jump training, and find different elements in those training styles that you can incorporate into your own style and just be able to push yourself to be that much better, because it all carries over and it all translates, and it always going to push you forward to accomplishing your goal. And I know a lot of people will quit certain different training because, it took a hit when you're doing this. Well, the same thing happens when you're doing strength training. When I started back incorporating my overhead press, about almost coming on a month now, or maybe probably has been a month and a week or so, and yeah, the bench press does take a hit. Yeah, I'm still tired in my back when I do my squats on my squat days, and you're not able to go as heavy as you want to go, but that soreness that I have for at least 2 to 3 weeks is well worth it once I heal and I'm able to do squat more with that weight, and I'm able to overhead press more, and I'm able to bench press more efficiently because I decided to introduce that weight that overall helps my body and my posterior chain and just my overall posture and just way of well-being. So those hits that people complain about are well worth it in the end, and it's going to make you that much more powerful. So whatever your training philosophy may be, it may be jogging, it may be running. Stretch yourself to do more weight training, or wear weighted equipment when you do train, or do power walking, or add some form of resistance or strength training to your regimen. And if you are a person who do strictly strength training, then do some walking or running or jogging or some stretching, yoga, or some form of plyo or jump training or calisthenics or Tabata or whatever training style it may be. But the purpose of this video is just to tell you to try different disciplines. Don't become so set in your way of training that you think this is the only way, and then if forbid you get injured and you stop training completely. No, know that your body is meant to grow and expand in different areas, and jump into those different disciplines. You utilize your body to its full potential, not just in weight training or running or CrossFit or whatever discipline you are so driven and you in love with. And it's okay to love that discipline. It's okay to love that practice or that type of style of training that you do, but give yourself time to expand out. Try something new, and everything will carry over. That much I promise. It will carry over, and it will help you in both arenas. And you will never know. Is just you can become so much better, like just by opening up your mind and just trying these different disciplines. They're there for a reason, and they all carry over and they all overlap and help out each other. So, all right, that's my quick word for training philosophies. All right, peace.